specifically should the seeds start to be planted?
As early as possible.
When specifically should the seeds start to be planted? When's the most appropriate time for it? And it's the earliest time for it.
Buyer consultation.
Ding. Your buyer consultation should consist of, one, a little bit of information about you and your experience and expertise. Mine goes along the lines like this. My name is Josh Pono. Hey, listen, we're going to have a great conversation. I'm going to tell you a small tidbit about me just so you know what perspective I'm coming from, so you know that I'm not making this stuff up. You know my experience. I've been in real estate for 14 years. In 2020, 2021, and 2022, in the XYZ, I sold X amount of homes. I've worked for this team. I currently work here. This is what I do. This is what I specialize in. The next part of it, do you have any questions about me on whether or not I'm going to be competent to give you the perspective on what's going on in the market? No. Market talk. What's going on? And I start back on, I do the bridge. Hey, in the late, I'm going to tell you where we're at so you know where we're going. Okay. 2020, everybody thought that was going to, we had been on a run for 10 years. Everybody thought we were going to crash. We actually went booming. And it was because of low interest rates, extremely low inventory. Everybody was losing their mind because you had kids learning from school at home. You had parents that loved to travel that couldn't, and they bought small homes because they wanted to save extra money to go places. When the whole state shut down and everything got jacked up, they now realize they need a bigger house, and interest rates were so cheap they had to do it. Boom, pandemic, right? Now, April, that ran all the way to April, and April was the peak due to high interest rates. Okay, the interest rates got to 7%. And over the last 8 months, we lost 15%, right off the top. Gone. Which is fantastic because even though the monthly payment's important, you only own the home usually for 7 years. So the better deal you get on the house, the more money you make in year 7. You make the money with the purchase. Okay. There's a lot of buyers that can't sell right now because they bought at the peak of the market. Good news is 15% has been wiped off. Now, we started to see, we still are seeing extremely low inventory for a few reasons. One, high interest rates. A lot of buyers can't afford. Two, because people like myself who have a 2.75% interest rate do not want to double my monthly payment to get a house that's just a little bit better. If I wanted to go improve my house and get an extra bedroom, I got to spend double the amount of monthly payment. Now my kids can share a room for a little longer, right? Not doubling my monthly payment because it'd be nice to have my kids with a second bedroom. They don't need it right now. We'll get you a tent, bro. We got a backyard. It'll be fine. You can stay out there. So you've got all these sellers that maybe they want a bigger house, but they're going to wait for a while, especially after we just lost 15%. But you still have major tech coming in. There are thousands of jobs. Well, tech's doing layoffs, not in San Diego. Apple's hiring, Intuit's hiring, Amazon's hiring, and I'm talking about engineers, coders, etc. They're all doing that stuff, right? So we have high demand in tech. They still need a place to live. The lower buyers have kind of been on hold. The higher buyers, they're still buying. Okay. And everybody thinks interest rates are going to be lower in 6 months. So they're all trying to buy now to get the lower price because the inventory is the lowest it's been. Right? When we were looking at inventory, we have 3,000 homes available, and 2 out of 3 of those are going pending. The good houses that are priced right, they're getting multiple offers and they're going over. So we've got to be strategic. Now, the great news is that if we position your offers correctly, then you don't have to be the highest buyer. Do you have any questions about the market? Do you have any fears or concern? Have you seen that? Yeah, we're seeing that. Do you want me to show you extra data providing this information? Because I know there's a lot of clickbait out there, but the generic news isn't what's going on hyperlocally here right now as we speak. I'm not talking about last month. I'm not talking about next month. I'm talking about right now. This is where we're at. Inventory is not planning to go up. Interest rates are planning to go down. Prices do look like they're going up. In fact, they showed that they went up last month. And they're trajecting that way again. And by the way, this is very similar to the last 3 quarters, not identical, because if you got 50 showings last year or 2020, if you got 50 showings in 2021 or 2022 first quarter, you got 50 showings, you got 20 offers. Now we're getting 50, 75 showings, we're getting 5 to 10 offers. But it's still the best premium buyers out of the 20. If you had 20 offers, 10 of them were awesome, 10 of them sucked. The 10 of them that sucked are gone. The 10 of them that were good are still here. Does that make sense? Because the people making money still need a place to live and they still have money to spend. That's what's going on right now. So if you don't have any questions about the market, then let's talk about how do you win. Okay, and then I go, there are 3 contingencies that give you complete protection in California. The buyer investigation contingency, the appraisal contingency, and the loan contingency. Okay, and I go into those contingencies. And the strategy is always, we're going to get you connected with our preferred lender. We're going to get all the paperwork done now. You must get a loan approval contingency because these buyers, you have to get fully underwritten. You have to. Because if there's a buyer that's cash and there's you, the buyer that's cash can actually pay $10,000 less and you still lose. But if you have the loan contingency removed, you can compete with the cash buyer. You can be viewed as a cash buyer. That is a huge bonus and benefit now. And here's the best news. It's not extra work. It's just work ahead of time. Same work. You're just doing it 2 weeks ahead of schedule instead of waiting. And the benefit of not only looking stronger as a buyer that looks like cash and not only having all your work done preliminarily, it allows you less stress because instead of in a multiple offer situation, you having to scramble and find this document or that document or going into escrow and wondering about, is this going to qualify, blah, blah. You know 100% you're good. So all you have to do is focus on whether or not that's the right home, which is obviously what you want. It is less stress, more power, better price. Do you have any questions about that? Well, if they're nervous about fear, it's say, hey, I can totally appreciate that. Has somebody presented this idea to you before? Yeah. Did you speak to their lender? Yeah. Were you confident after speaking to the lender? No, I was nervous and concerned. Great. That's a great sign that you were with the wrong person that doesn't understand the process. I'm going to introduce you to Eric. I guarantee you, you're going to see nothing but the benefits. There is no downside to this. None. Why? Because we're going to put a 7 to 10 day buyer investigation contingency. And by being fully underwritten, you can get a loan approval in 3 days. Eric's going to have 10. And if anything's wrong with the loan, for some reason, something happens, we're going to protect you by canceling due to the buyer investigation program. There are 0 downsides to this. Okay. Number 2, appraisal. We're not going to go into appraisal training for today for the sake of time. The reality is if they're putting in 30%, the appraisal is not very important. If they're putting down 5%, but they've got a little bit extra, the way you explain the appraisal, say, listen, the appraisal is the bank's metric to make sure you're not overpaying. I'm going to make sure that you have a 99% certainty that you're not overpaying and that we're in alignment. How do we do that? We get the comps that are selling. And if the price is warranting what it is, then you'll be good. If it comes in $5,000 short, the bank won't penalize you. It's not a penalty. You didn't officially overpay. It's just saying you got to put an extra $5,000 down on the property, which, by the way, also lowers your monthly payment and increases your equity. And we'll talk about that because, by the way, we're going to order the appraisal day 1. We're going to see the appraisal on day 7. And if there's anything wrong with the appraisal, I've got a couple contingency plans on the backside to negotiate to get them to give you a credit, even though they said they wouldn't. And we're not saying that we won't renegotiate. We're saying the deal is not contingent on an appraisal. But we still view the appraisal as a required disclosure, which then falls into the buyer investigation period. And so even if a listing agent comes up to me and said, Josh, you said the deal's not contingent on an appraisal. It's not. It's not. We can still move forward. And it's a disclosure within the buyer investigation timeline. And based on this disclosure, it changes our opinion of value. But it's not contingent. I can go through with a deal. Well, you never said that. You never asked. Buyer investigation, that one's simple, but that's the formula. So that's the talk. And then I say, great, do you have any questions? Now, before we start doing home searches and all that, this is the first step of the process. The next step of the process is to get you to the preferred lender because the preferred lender is going to look at the interest rates today, going to look at your debt to income. He's going to give you some strategies on exactly what you can do. We're going to get working on that pre-underwriting approval. When he gives us the number of how much you approve for, which by the way is probably going to be more than you want to spend. Banks are always willing to throw extra money at you. Just because you approve for it doesn't mean you want to spend it. And I'm going to help you with that. But we are going to find out what the monthly payment is that is preferable and comfortable for you. Now, once we have that preferable and comfortable payment from you based on how much you're going to put down on your house and how much you want on your monthly payment, then we're going to have our second meeting. And our second meeting is called the buyer criteria consultation. And now that we have the number, you know about the market, you know about the process, you know about that. Now it's time to go pick out your dream home. And we will have a short 15-minute meeting about what you're looking for. And then I'll start sending you listings and I'll start taking you out on homes and we'll go after it if that's what you want to do. Any questions about the process? Great. That's awesome. Let me get you connected to Eric right now. Sit in front of him. Hey, Eric, this is meet so-and-so. Do it right in front of him. Great. Now you're connected with Eric. I'll follow up with you in 2 days. And if everything's done, you're done with the application, you're done with everything you need to do, then we'll set up the buyer criteria consultation and we'll get rocking and rolling if that's what you want to do. That's Josh Pono in a nutshell in a super competitive market.